An attorney named Mark Elias, who worked for Hillary Clinton in the Democratic National Committee, he hired an opposition research firm named Fusion GPS. Now, Fusion GPS is known to be a relatively sketchy organization. They're currently refusing to turn over financial records to Congress regarding who paid them. They pled the Fifth, which means they have reason to think that whatever they might say might incriminate them. So Mark Elias was hired by Hillary and the DNC. He retained Fusion GPS. Fusion GPS then hired Christopher Steele, a former British intelligence agent, to do the legwork. Hillary's campaign and the DNC, through Elias, the attorney, paid Fusion GPS from April 2016 up until right around Election Day, late October 2016. Fusion GPS gave the dossier they created to Elias. Now, the Democrats are claiming that Hillary Clinton and Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who was then chair of the DNC, they didn't know a thing about Christopher Steele being involved. He was just a subcontractor, they claim. Until this. One of Hillary Clinton's top campaign officials says Hillary herself may have known. This is Brian Fallon.
Just to be clear, Brian, you have said previously in the last 24 hours you don't believe Hillary Clinton knew about this either. Is that right?
Oh, I don't know. I haven't asked. I haven't spoken to her. No.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah.
Shouldn't she know? Shouldn't you, someone so high up in the campaign, be informed of this?
Well, I mean, she may have known, but the degree of exactly what she knew is beyond my knowledge. For instance, like, it could have been that a decision was made to authorize Perkins Coie to commission some kind of research, but then decisions about, going out and finding Fusion GPS, finding Christopher Steele. I mean, she may or may not have been aware of that level of detail. I don't know.
Joining me now, former regional press secretary for the Presidential Inaugural Committee and member of the Donald J. Trump Advisory Board, Madison Otto. Madison, thanks for joining me on the show today.
Great to be with you, Liz.
All right, Madison, this is an interesting story. Every day there's a new element that is revealed that I think incriminates Hillary Clinton even further. We already know that she lied. Her lawyer lied about not knowing about Fusion GPS. She lied about whether she paid for this dossier. $9 million, we now know, her campaign put towards this dossier. Now there's been a complaint filed against her claiming that she didn't disclose accurately to the FEC that she used this money for opposition research. She labeled this legal services because Fusion GPS, the Oppo research firm, was actually contracted by her employer or by her attorney. My question to you is there a case for an actual crime that Hillary Clinton might have committed here?
Well, definitely, when we look at the FEC and what she's required to disclose, she's required to disclose accurately. So her hiring a firm to do opposition research is not illegal, but her disclosing this as legal services is pretty sketchy and could potentially be illegal. As we know, watchdog groups have already filed with the FEC a complaint on this. And on top of that, if this dossier led to the FBI relying on it solely or in large part to launch an investigation into President Trump and his campaign, or in, court filings, this could be a major issue as well. And what's really crazy about all of this is, for 9 months from the inauguration until now, Hillary Clinton, the Democrats, and frankly, all of President Trump's opposition continue to push down the Americans' throats the idea that President Trump and the campaign colluded with Russia, and that ultimately, led to a major change in what the outcome of the election would have been. President Trump continued to deny this. Now, every single day, more and more information is dripping out that's supporting his continued denials over the last 9 months and, showing other avenues where we actually could have had Russian collusion, not with President Trump or not with Republicans.
Right. Plus, it seems implausible to me. It's not impossible here. I wasn't a fly on the wall, unfortunately, in the Hillary Clinton camp. But when Brian Fallon, who was very high up in her campaign apparatus, by the way, when he says she may have known or otherwise denies or vaguely pivots about whether she knows, it seems implausible to me that $9 million, campaign spending that amount of money, that the actual candidate themselves wouldn't have any idea where that money was going towards.
I think not only with $9 million, but even if it were $1 million or $500,000, that's a large amount of money. And when campaigns or parties are spending that type of money, typically people high up know where it's going or have a general idea of what it's being used for. And so I think it's very sketchy for anyone to say that, oh, she had no idea. Of course, no, we don't know for sure whether she had an idea. And her campaign was obviously run very badly. So maybe she was, not knowledgeable at her own campaign enough to know this was going on. But I don't find that to be very plausible. And I frankly don't think think that that's going to be the truth that comes out at the end of this.
No, and that makes it the choice between incompetent or illegal, neither of which you want to actually pick. I think the main point here to make again is that Hillary Clinton's campaign lied. I mean, at least her lawyer, the lawyer for the DNC, he certainly knew what was going on. It's even more implausible. It's actually borderline impossible that he didn't know after he hired Fusion GPS that Christopher Steele had been subcontracted by them to dig up this dirt. I wouldn't believe for 1 second that he didn't know. He lied about it once. There's no reason why he would lie about it again. But the point is, too, even if there's no crime that was committed here, Hillary Clinton, by admitting finally that we found out that she paid for this, we know that she is the one now who funded that false narrative about Trump and the Russians. Even if there was no crime committed, I mean, she started that narrative. She started this whole smorgasbord of fake news. And that, I mean, she should be ashamed of that.
Oh, of course, she should be ashamed. And on top of that, going back to Fusion GPS and following the money here, a federal judge will rule here soon regarding whether or not they'll be forced to release their financial records to the House Oversight Committee. If that's the case, we may end up finding out that it's not only the Democrats, it's not only Hillary's campaign that was funding this research, but it could have also been Russia that was paying Fusion GPS. And that's something that could be interesting when these financial records, if they are released, when they come out, we can look at that and see. Because
right, I think the American people deserve to know that. This is a good time, though, to debunk a talking point. So the mainstream media took part in this fake news about Trump and the Russians. They, of course, covered the BuzzFeed dossier, the dossier that BuzzFeed released when they did. But they're now purporting this narrative saying that, you know, a GOP donor who was anti-Trump at the time, that donor was the person who started paying Fusion GPS. Hillary Clinton and her campaign and the DNC, they just picked up where the GOP donor left off. They're essentially insinuating that the GOP paid Christopher Steele. Madison, that is not true. Christopher Steele was not subcontracted by Fusion GPS until after the GOP donor had stopped paying Fusion GPS and the Clintons had started paying them.
Exactly. He was subcontracted. Following that point, he was subcontracted after the DNC and Hillary Clinton, you know, paid their law firm, which subsequently earmarked these funds to Fusion GPS to work on this dossier, and that's the simple truth of it.